Hello, hello, everyone. I am Nick Baldwin, co-founder of Lab Code Agents, and today we have Kyle with us from Lone Wolf. Kyle, what's your role over there? You're an industry principal, right?
Yeah, so basically, I'm out and about at the events and the shows, and I basically interact with all the different facets of real estate. So
Oh,
from
sweet. So you get to
classes,
talk to the agents and do all the
yep,
fun stuff. Um,
yep,
so today we are going to look at how Lone Wolf uses a product called Cloud CMA, but more specifically, Homebeat. And Homebeat, like think about basically we're rethinking the CMA as an ongoing value tool, not just a pricing report. So Homebeat, you can use it to connect with past clients through regular automated touch points, deliver personalized market insights that your contacts actually look forward to getting. And you can stay connected to drive repeat business and referrals. And, it's important to understand that your CMA isn't just for pricing, it's a tool for staying relevant, for building trust, and for creating long term business. So, Kyle, I'll hand it over to you. And if you're
yep.
watching us, type in the chat where you guys are tuning in from. I'd just love to know where everybody is around the world. And Kyle, I'll hand it off to you and we'll get started. And I'll chime in with you with questions that I have or any questions from the from the members
Sounds good.
watching. Yeah, I was couldn't
Sounds
think of
good,
what I
Nick.
wanted
No,
to say there, but go ahead.
no, I appreciate it. So, thanks for having us. We love partnering with Lab Coat Agents. We know that you guys have done a lot of great work for many years now, and look and provide some of the best tools. So, this is really an ongoing extension of our last webinar. So, I know many of you participated in the last webinar where we really focused on Cloud CMA. And so, Cloud CMA has been out there a long time. To Nick's point, it is a tool that it's not an AVM. Everybody tries to create the best price, but from Lone Wolf and Cloud's perspective, that you as the agent is the professional and should be advising the listing owner as far as what their pricing strategy should be based on their goals and desires. So we focus on the aesthetically pleasing and the best way to present the agent and for you to win the listing. So it's really a listing presentation. And it has some other features as far as comparisons, obviously CMA, but that's kind of what it's for. So we talked about that, and we'll touch on that a bit. But to Nick's point, there's a little used, I shouldn't say it's little used, but not everybody that uses CMA knows that this exists. And it really allows, it's called Homebeat. And so we'll get into it here in a second. But it drives recurring business, referrals, keeps you in the interest of your old customer. So there's a lot of things you can do with it. So we're going to talk about that and get into it a little bit today. So beyond use of CMA, how do you spark that client engagement? So relationship, basically drive business. So whether it's somebody saying, who did you experience, who'd you work with in making the biggest purchase of your career, or who sold your listing in a timely fashion? We saw it go so fast and you got the full price and what you were looking for. Like, that relationship is important. And in many studies, and I'm sure we've all heard it, but a very small percentage of buyers and sellers reuse that same agent, in their next purchase. And so, there's a lot of reasons for that. Agents entering and losing the market, and moving, and different things that go on. But there are agents that focus on this and really drive a lot of ongoing business and repeat business and referral business. So again, it's a key piece of your sphere. And I know, Nick, it's something that you and Tristan in the group talk about as far as driving business from your sphere of influence, and people that you're working with. So um, so basically, the role of the CMA, we've kind of reimagined. I mean, it is to help sellers understand, their home's value. And that's, of course, it's that. But it's also presenting the image of the agent that what's going on, the market that they're in. you understand what they're saying and their goals are. In some cases, it's a quick sale. They need to do it quick. They need to get out. They're not necessarily looking for, the top dollar. Others might be, that's what they're chasing, and they have a very specific, dollar amounts in price in mind. But all of that is really pieces that the Cloud CMA will allow you to customize and craft for each scenario that you're in. So when you're producing a CMA, you have tons of selections, whether how you're going to market that property, or what makes your value proposition as an agent and a brokerage more so than others that they might be having listing presentations coming in involved. So all of those are really about winning that listing, with the price being a piece of it. So as we're going through it, obviously CMAs are showing comparative markets. So you look at what other properties are, but there's a lot of other pieces that go into that. And so that is really what our focus is. Nick, have you used Cloud CMA in the past?
Yes, I have used it in the past. Yes. It's a cool
All
tool.
right. Yeah, and when you're going on listing presentations, like what are some of the things that are important to you, to present to make sure you're, putting your best foot forward to try to win the listing?
Well, obviously, comparative properties, but also incorporating you know, a strategic pricing plan, what my marketing strategy is, things of that nature.
Mhm. Yeah, and so that's, having that readily available on a complete place that you can show and demonstrate, obviously is very important to actually win the listing. Um, so back to that relationship part, things happen in the market, and we're in a crazy market. I know, there's some stats that are coming out that in many of these markets now, it's a buyer's market. So, there's a lot of new strategies that are coming along, and this hasn't happened in, 10 years. There's many agents in the market today that never really experienced a true buyer's market or a more balanced market. So as these trends shift, staying on top of that and incorporating that into your knowledge to be able to present, is critical, and it's something that is very important to make sure you're on top of. But also just making sure that the consumers are up to date. There's a lot of noise in the industry, whether it's the lawsuits or whether it's the other things that are in there about real estate. So as buyers and sellers are making their decisions and trying to understand all the noise in the market, keeping that consistent follow-up to them is important, and providing something of value. Many agents do. There's a lot of CRMs that have all kinds of drip marketing and all kinds of tools and things like that. But again, giving something that's relevant and timely and important is really where we try to focus on, and that all leads us to Homebeat. And so with CMAs, there's a couple different versions. You have the PDF that you can print, you have all the pages, but we also have the live CMA. And the live CMA essentially allows the user to go online and either send a link or do it on an iPad right in front of the customer. And basically what's happening there is we actually did it for COVID. So during COVID times, you couldn't necessarily go, and there was all these changes and rules and restrictions. So making it live where you can click on tiles and do things right on the fly, was a very powerful release that we had to accommodate, some of those changes that were mandated by, the rules and regulations. Come full circle now, or continuing on, that was a great tool that people still use today. So you can actually do a live CMA where you're going into the MLS and you're selecting. So if a buyer, or I should say a seller, says, wait a second, hey, there's a house down the road that just sold, why is that not included? You can pull that in and it will show you the differences. You can look at the photos, you can look at the square footage differences and all the different pieces and say, well, here's why that price isn't relevant and really shouldn't be included in here. But if you want to, sure, we can do that. And you can simply add that in. So it's a very powerful tool to allow you to customize on the fly to gain that confidence of that, that seller to sign with you that day. I mean, that's the goal, is to get that listing and to really start marketing. So having that personalized report is something that's critical. So Homebeat is an extension of that. Okay, so Homebeat allows the user to do this at any time. And when I say user, it really can be anyone that you have in your database. One of the ways that we've talked through brokerages who are leveraging all of Cloud's agent suite, Cloud CMA and Homebeat, is that hey, when you have new agents that are coming on board or they're coming from another industry, one of the first things you have them do is go out and farm to their sphere of influence. You have all your people here. This is a quick way of adding customers' email addresses in and putting their property address if they're a homeowner, and basically it will allow them to see what their home is worth versus others in the market at any periodic time. So from, let's say it's you can do it monthly, you can do it weekly, you can do it every quarter, every year, but essentially it's a live CMA that the user can go on and click. And just on screen you see it has some basic properties that are kind of matching. So it's kind of what Cloud CMA calls a quick and dirty. And that's really where it says, okay, is it close to the bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, some of those key attributes for the CMA. And if it matches that within that area, it throws them on there. But it allows that user to go in and remove and to add and change and make some updates to theirs. So it really allows that user to play around with it and create interaction, which then is reported back to the agent. So if the consumer is doing something, you can go back and see, hey, they're going into our agents. Auto
Also,
update.
I think it's a
Go ahead.
great thing that it's interactive because that keeps the consumer on it longer. So you're saying the agent will get notified of any sort of changes that the consumer is making?
Yeah. So if they're clicking in and they have an interest in clicking and going in and actually taking action on that, it will notify the agent. And that's one of that lead gen piece.
Yeah,
So that
that's
if
good.
you're sending 50 out to, your sphere of influence, just saying, hey, I'm new to the market. I'd love to just sign you up for this to go to your email. You can easily see the ones who are taking action and, ties back. So, um, yeah, so that's cool. Personalized, branded, effortless. So basically, you put your name, keeps your name out in front of them, keeps your information, and it really just gives you, a great look. Um, so, Cloud CMA, obviously beautiful, insightful reports, really winning that listing. Homebeat, more of a lead gen tool, more of a continued client engagement. How can I drive referrals? How can I drive repeat business? How can I, go out and send something to folks that I've never worked with before, to keep your information out there? You mentioned let me see. Actually, I'm going to skip through a couple here. So this is kind of what it looks like. I have the email I can pull up, but basically it will send this. So see what's happening around 8443. And you have a screenshot here, but basically it says how many's active, how many's pending. When you click accept and command, so basically you're going into that system, then it's live. So you're there clicking around and there's no effort on the agent's part. They're just doing that. So that's happening at midnight at night. It's happening throughout the day. It's happening whenever. And you're notified of that so that you can go back and follow up with whomever is taking that action. So that's kind of the cool part. And then it tells you right here on a weekly update what home beats have been sent. You can view them. You can see all the activities and things like that from the email to the agent. So this is what you would receive, just letting you
Hey,
know that
Kyle,
things.
something popped up on the screen there, some reminder. There you go.
Oh,
Yep.
sorry.
Okay, cool. You're good.
Thanks. So yeah, that's essentially how it works. So yeah, it's just a great extension from what
Yeah,
many
it's
people do.
good that it can be you know, played around with because so many times like there's nothing for the consumer to do, obviously to look at it, but if they feel they can be a part of it, it'll
Mhm.
increase the engagement rate and obviously increase the interest rate that they have with working with you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I have one more little thing to go through, and then we have a special for Lab Coat Agent subscribers, and we have some discount codes in there. So definitely want to check that out. So if you want to go and sign up, you can. We'll also take some questions. So I know that there's the question chat. So if you have some, please drop those in. Before we do that, though, what is it doing? What is it reiterating? Consistent value. It's useful. It's not just something boring. It's something that they can actually have value out of. You set it and forget it. You put the people on, and that's it. You're not really having to do any sort of extra work. It just does it for you. It's a great conversation starter about what's the value. Everyone, a lot of people are addicted to going to the Zestimate and Zillow and seeing what's going on. This essentially gives them more information to kind of create their own or work on their own. Reinforces your expertise. So they see your name, they see that you're providing relevant information, and then again, keeps your information front and center. So
So you can time these to go out at any interval.
correct. Well, not any interval, but you can do it weekly. You can do it monthly. You can do it quarterly. And then I think every 6 months and then every year. So you have different
I know a
intervals
lot of
based
agents
on.
send quarterly CMAs to their database, and they're literally like at home putting these things together and taking, weeks to do it. So how does this work? Like you enter the person's address and then do you choose the properties, or does the algorithm help you choose the properties? How does it work?
Yeah, it's a great question. So in Cloud CMA, there's really two options when we're going through the full system. There's the option that you can, or maybe three, you can upload your own MLSs. So if you're a listing, you're going on a presentation and you're doing all the prep work for it as an agent, you can basically go and hand curate which listings that you want to add in there. And basically you plug it in and it pulls the CMA for you. The second way is what's called a quick and dirty. And a quick and dirty is where the system uses that algorithm, proprietary information, but it's not really even that. It's really saying, okay, there's 6 data points or 7 data points. We want to find properties that are within a selected region that have these items here. And then there's a beautiful map so that you can say, well, that one's actually across the interstate. It's not really relevant. We're going to pull that off. Or this one here, it is bigger, but there's other attributes that make it more similar. So we can toggle that on. The only difference is when a consumer's seeing it, it's just the quick and dirty. So that's where if they
Yeah.
wanted to pull one off or see something, they won't do that because they don't have the agent expertise. So, but that's kind of how it works. And again, no touching it. It just automatically does it for you and gives that information.
So it's pretty, I mean, like you call it quick and dirty. So it's pretty quick to do.
Instant because it goes into the MLS. It is pulls those listings immediately and then gives you a nice little toggle to say, nope, I don't want to include that one, or hey, I want to add this other one over here in a map. So in the map, you actually see all the listings. So you can click around and see which listings and say, oh, that one looks like I should add it in. And you can easily do that. And if you're an agent and you're making, the pricing argument that you would want to persuade the owner to, basically show that you're telling them that you know more about the market than they do. But then basically it gives you that flexibility. But again, you can also do that live with the seller. We all know that sometimes they have outrageous expectations, and this can level set some of that, with using data and using real live information instead of trying to, argue them down.
Yeah. Is there any like, oh, so it's connected to your MLS, so it's
Mm-hmm.
updated in real time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
how does it work if, does it change, does it update the actual home beat listing? If a house goes under contract or, goes into escrow or closes, it will reflect that since it's connected to the MLS, right?
It does. Yeah, because of the types of feeds, we have to have, all of that. Um, so it does. There is a question there about off-market sales
Oh, okay. I
of the
missed it.
MLS. And so that's
Oh,
great.
here it
No, I
is.
mean, it kind of ties into, and so we do have certain ways of doing that. There are some, and I know this audience is primarily agents, but from a broker standpoint, if there's other types of feeds, we actually use different types of feeds as well. So there's some that have feeds that are supplementing additional data sets beyond just the MLS. But by and large, MLS is still what most use, and it gives us the ability to have real time. As soon as information is entered in there, I'm sure there's seconds in between, but basically it's almost real time updates.
What have you seen in terms of timing, like sending these out? What have you seen to be the best time frame? Like, I think weekly is a little much, but like monthly or quarterly, what do you think is what's proven to be the most effective?
So that's a great question. I think that most feel more comfortable with quarterly just because that is not as intrusive.
Yeah.
I know that some are monthly. I in fact, had mine turned off from weekly because it seems like every time you look up, you're like, oh, okay, there it is again. And that's
Yeah,
cool,
weekly's a
but I
little
already
much.
know. Yeah, it was a little much. Monthly, I think is good. I mean, when you're advising a new agent coming on board or someone who's looking for leads, looking for something, it's like, hey, maybe you do want to turn it on monthly for just now and hit everybody right now, and then you can go back and rescale and set that. So but quarterly is probably that good balance that still gives them,
Yeah.
relevant information every three
Because
months.
not enough really can happen in a month.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
And
Things will
and
take
they'll get
time.
bored. They'll be like, well, nothing's changing.
I
Yeah, I
already
think
saw that one.
quarterly.
I already saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think quarterly is probably the best way to go about it. You don't want to like you don't want your clients to feel like you're shoving this down their throat. Like it's supposed to be, but this will be in between like your regular touches anyway.
Exactly. This is basically another component that just adds layers. It's not a CRM. Obviously, we have CRMs, and but everyone has something that they're using to follow up. It's more supplemental that actually gives real life information, from a CMA standpoint. And to your point, doesn't take hours and hours and hours to do every quarter because you're having to do a lot of manual intervention. So,
Yeah, and a lot of agents don't have any sort of touch system to speak of.
mhm.
That's why, a big percentage of consumers say they'll use their agent again in the future, but they end up not using their agent again in the future because they forget their agent's name because the agent just isn't doing this. So like if you're I mean, and consumers want value. So if you're
Mhm.
providing value and you're giving them great information about their property, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. So what's it cost? Because we can save $10 with lab coats, but what's the cost after the $10?
So good question. The cost is it does slightly vary based on MLS because there's
Oh,
some
okay.
MLSs that provide it as a member benefit. So, if check out your member benefits, some MLSs provide, just CMA but not Homebeat, and then some don't provide anything and you would buy it yourself. So there's different packages, but whatever you are, need, you have that lab coat agent promo code, so you can plug that in. But generally, it's a couple $100 a year. So
Oh, that's pretty
it's
good. A year.
yeah, yeah, it's not very expensive for all the value that it brings. So check it out. Drop your information in here. We'd love to talk to you. So if you have someone that you want to speak to someone directly, we can do that. Or we have it online, and you can go in and order directly from there.
If they want to schedule like a demo or something to get like a
Mhm.
walkthrough of it, where would they go for that? They just go to that link in the chat.
Yeah, lwolf.com, and they can go straight in, and yeah, just send their information there, or you can send us an email on any of the capture pages and just say that you're interested in Cloud CMA or Homebeat, and we'll have somebody reach out to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great tool. Like, I think it's a tool that every agent needs. I mean, definitely help keep your clients off Zillow to check their home value,
Mhm.
because this is connected to the most updated source, your MLS. You know
Yep.
what I mean? There's nothing more accurate than that. And I think something has to be said that, Zillow uses an algorithm. Obviously, there's pluses and minuses to that. But I think like if it's a human being, who knows your house because they sold it to you, there's
Mhm.
no there's no better person to get it from. So definitely like add something like this to your utility belt of tools. You know what I mean? You have to have it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. If no one has any extra questions, that's fine. Make sure to subscribe to the Lab Code Agents YouTube channel because this will be replayed on there and you can watch it again. Or you can go to what is it?
Lwolf.com,
lwolf.com,
LWOLF. Mhm.
lwolf.com and check this out and you know, use LC agents as your promo code if you want to sign up. Otherwise, contact sales or request a demo, whatever you want to do. Definitely jump in there and see if it's something that, you could benefit from because your clients can definitely benefit from it. So that's not a question.
Absolutely.
Um,
And I should have mentioned this earlier. We are on the cusp of about to releasing our buyer presentation as well. So
ooh,
that's all
that's
part of it.
fun.
And so buyer presentation, now with all the changes that are happening and getting the buyer broker agreement
Yeah,
up front, it's a tool that basically allows you to sell yourself on that front end on the buyer side. So
that's great. Yeah, we need that because now your buyers may have to pay you. So you have to have a value proposition.
exactly.
So,
Yeah. Maybe we
all
can do
right,
that next week.
Kyle. Yeah, that'll be, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Everyone have a great weekend. And check out Homebeat and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks everybody.
Thanks, Dave.